There was a lot riding on the government's investment summit today. Having made growth its #1 economic priority, it needs to find money from somewhere. A day-long charm offensive featuring the King and Sir Elton John, no less, seems to have worked. Many of the business leaders who've committed £60 billion are taking it on trust that there will be no unwelcome surprises in the budget in a fortnight's time. And yet the Chancellor gave her clearest signal yet that she will be putting up national insurance for employers. If so, that will cost big companies millions, and perhaps more problematic still, it will likely trigger a big row about whether it does or does not break a manifesto promise.
Roll up, Britain is back at the global table. That was the pitch, and the Prime Minister delivered it to a room full of global business leaders, among them the chair of DP World, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, and the Transport Secretary who upset him last week. When businesses invest, Keir Starmer said, economic growth increases and everyone wins.
Growth is higher wages. Growth is a more vibrant high street. Growth is public services back on their feet. It's less poverty. And of course, for any business, it means a bigger market, higher demand, a more secure and prosperous future.
Alongside the summit, the government trumpeted £63 billion of business investment that has been announced since the election, which it said would create 38,000 jobs, including £1 billion from Manchester Airports Group to expand Stansted, and £1 billion from DP World, investment the company had threatened to pull.
Your Excellency, Joel Hills from ITV News. Can you just confirm why you changed your mind about investing in London Gateway, Your Excellency?
The chair of DP World wasn't keen to answer questions. Would the Chancellor?
What did you say to DP World? Did you apologise?
Well, look, conversations, as you know, happened at the weekend to encourage them to make that investment into Britain.
Did the government apologise to DP World?
Well, that investment is now being made in Britain, and DP World can see the benefits of investing in the UK, as can so many other businesses.
Just to be clear, is P&O Ferries a rogue operator?
Well, under the last government, it was possible to engage in practices like fire and rehire and to have exploitative zero-hour contracts. We introduced legislation to Parliament last week that will make those practices unlawful.
I asked because last Wednesday, P&O Ferries was a rogue operator. The Transport Secretary said as much, using language that was signed off by Number 10. Now P&O doesn't seem to be a rogue operator, so people will be thinking, what's changed?
Well, the Prime Minister's already been really clear that those are not the views of this government and that we welcome that investment.
But they were the views of the government. This was signed off.
The Prime Minister's been really clear that those are not the views of this government.
Would you travel with P&O Ferries?
Yes,
Chancellor?
I would.
The government's pitch went down well with this investor. Tom Wagner owns Birmingham City Football Club. He wants to spend £3 billion developing the area around the stadium, creating jobs and building new homes, but only with government support.
Well, I think the key things are faster planning, certainty of reasonably priced energy, and ultimately better transport, right? It's not just...
What's wrong with the transport?
Well, it's very difficult to get to our existing stadium.
And bluntly, if that doesn't happen, this venture's not going ahead.
It makes it very difficult to do.
Today was about backslaps and smiles between ministers and billionaires, but the bonhomie may not last. A budget looms.
Did Labour's manifesto pledge not to increase national insurance extend to businesses?
Well, you've read our manifesto, and it was very clear. It was about taxes on working people. Our commitment not to increase. Our manifesto was really clear in black and white that that commitment was around taxes on working people.
Today, the Prime Minister was in charm mode, trying to woo businesses. But in 2 weeks' time, his Chancellor will deliver a budget that may upset them. Joel Hills, News at 10.
Well, breaking manifesto promises is a very big deal. Just asked Nick Clegg how it worked out for him over student tuition fees. But would this be breaking a promise, Robert? And what else might be in the budget?
So Rachel Reeves has just said it's in black and white, and I've got the relevant line here from the manifesto. It says, "We will not increase national insurance." That sounds fairly straightforward, doesn't it? Because national insurance covers both national insurance that employees pay, people like you and me, and what our employers pay. But it's preceded by these words, Labour will not increase taxes on working people. So is that a get-out-of-jail card for her if she puts up national insurance? Does that mean that any intelligent reading of this would say, oh, it's quite clear, she can put up the tax that employers pay? I'm afraid to say, I think she's playing a bit fast and loose here. First of all, because at best it's ambiguous, right? It's not categoric. But more than that, what she's looking at, and I talked to you about this on our podcast, actually on News at 10, is imposing national insurance on the contributions to pension funds that companies make on their employees' behalf, right? Now, let's be absolutely clear. That makes those contributions more expensive. It almost certainly acts as a deterrent when it comes to employers putting in more money into those pension funds, and that's definitely a cost to working people. It also means in some cases they might cut the amount they put in, and they may try and save on wages. So just to be clear, the pure economics of this is that it does look like a tax on employment, which feeds back into, essentially what working people receive. Now, she's desperate to do it. Why? Because it raises a ton of money, 15 billion. She needs a ton of money. She's also looking at putting up the rate of capital gains tax. Actually, Keir Starmer more or less admitted that today in an interview with Bloomberg, and she's got to raise a ton of money from borrowing, and we've talked about how she's changing her fiscal rules. It's going to be a huge budget. At the end of it, if she goes down this national insurance route, I think, there is a risk that the Tories will hang round her neck that she's already broken a manifesto promise, because people will simply see what I've just read out, we will not increase national insurance, and they won't see a caveat there.